Welcome to Optimum Health Solutions. I'm your host, OJ Odia. Today, we'll talk about the care of the elderly. I'm sure this topic will be very interesting to most of us. All of us want to grow old. So, it's nice to know what the life of the elderly is like and what can we do to make it more pleasant for the elderly. Today, we have Professor Hope BELLGAM, consultant physician geriatrician, also known as care of the elderly, in the studio with us. Professor BELLGAM, you are welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Now, we want to know who is the elderly.
First, thank you very much for inviting me to this program. I feel very ecstatic whenever I have opportunity to talk about older persons and their care anywhere. Who is the elderly? Well, we have the classical definition of who elderly persons are, which is by biological age of 60. This is new. Just about 5 years ago, about. Elderly was taking more like which domain you were in. For instance, we Africans, even United Nations, gave us 65, not 60, because you have to look at the lifespan of the area where you are, because our lifespan was significantly lower than the average. We were giving 65. Some countries were giving 75. Some countries were giving usually about 70, 75 for the European countries, because their own lifespan was something like 85 and above. However, the good news was that because of all this confusion, because elderly also were used by some people who may be even 45, but because they have geriatric-like combination of problems, so their community will say that's elderly man. Whereas, to be honest, they're using the chronic or the physical age or something like that. So now the good news is that everybody, no matter where you are in the world, once you're 60, you are classified as elderly person. While that is going on, I also want to say that we no longer actually use the word elderly, the aged, senior citizen. Yes, we do. But to be honest, we are supposed to use the word older person.
Okay, is it because there's a stigma to being elderly?
I don't know if it's stigma. I think, like I say, it's to try and harmonize the various biases about how people classify people. Like I said, people just say, I look at him looking like old man. Whereas he's not actually. And in some communities, even in Africa, once by any mistake you father a child, even if you're not married, they say now you're going into the elderly group. So all that kind of thing is now wiped out because of this unified definition of saying you have to be 60 years and above to classify as elderly.
Okay, so 60 is the cutoff for being elderly or regarded as elderly.
Can be elderly, can be aged, can be senior citizen, but not pensioner.
Okay.
Because pensioner is different.
Okay, so but at 60.
60.
Now, so somebody who is 60 and somebody who is 90, there's a difference.
Yes, sir.
About 30 years.
Yes.
Are both elderly?
They are both elderly, but they fall to different groups of elderly.
Okay, what are these groups?
So just like in many others, we find in pediatrics, we have the infant, the note, infant, blah, 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 blah. Which two geriatric medicine have that? So if you're 60 to say about 75, you're the young old, all right? If you are more than 75 going to 85, you are the old proper. And if you are beyond 85 and beyond, they call it the old or the oldest. So we do have at least 3 categories of.
Okay, so these 3 categories are young, old,
yes,
old,
yes,
and old. Okay.
Or oldest old.
So somebody who is 70 is young, old.
It's young old.
Very good. Now, what are the common health conditions that we find in the elderly?
When I got that message from you, I sort of laughed. And I said, well, the truth of the matter is any ailments on the average is common at the elderly.
Okay.
Plus the advantages of being old, the wisdom. However, it depends on which territory and where you are in the world. I want to talk about this. So let me come back to home. We're in River State, we're in Port Harcourt. So I have to be biased in lifting the common things, especially when I have the privilege of running the geriatric clinic or the elderly person's clinic, both in UPTH, the other part, and downtown in River State University Hospital. So I can tell you that I've seen the broad spectrum. So what I decided to was pick the commonness of the whole sea of problem. So generalizing it is so that any organ you mention, the elderly, whichever group they fall, are likely to be more in population for those challenges because that's life. There's advantage of everything. One of the disadvantages is as you get older, all the systems begin to show the wear and tear of so many years, isn't it?
Okay.
But the commonest ones around this territory, perhaps if I'm not exaggerating, perhaps you can even say the word bone problem, arthritis. It is unusual for you to see someone in the 70s or above who will not tell you something like, this place is aching, that one is aching. You understand? So that is one.
So they have joint problem.
Joint problems
Okay.
plus muscle problem
Okay.
plus joint problem mainly. Do you see how the joint problem I'll talk more about because I chose three to talk
Okay.
about more. The other thing is that we overlook it in this country. Somewhere like Asia, they actually celebrate it. But we overlook it in this country. A woman will keep coming, particularly women, keep coming and keep coming. And all that is actually wrong with her, if we take time to listen and watch the trend of what's going on in her life, it's menopause. She has gone into menopause and nobody sees menopause as a challenge. We do. And unfortunately, it's commoner with the women again. Unfortunately, let me also say that the men are not free from what we call menopause. Theirs is called andropause. The same way that the estrogen, which is the main thing that gives the woman the beauty, looking succulent, making the men to say, hello, how are you? It's the same thing with the men. So when you begin to fall apart, it also means that their androgens have also started leaving you. So whatever we experience in menopause, men also have their own. Unfortunately, it expresses in different ways.
Well, menopause is between 45 and 55,
Can
usually. Or the onset.
It's not, yes, that can be it depends again on the population you're looking at.
Okay.
The average for the people in this country, I think most of us are menopausal by between 45 and 55.
Okay.
Most women are. And by definition, what is menopause? It is not seeing that monthly period again for one solid year. I'm not talking about 6 months or 10.5 months. It has to be 1 year. So it's a diagnosis by retrospect. When did you stop bleeding? We have to have the answer about a year ago before we say you're menopause. All the others have their names, perimenopause, postmenopause, blah, 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 blah. That's the second thing. The other one is mental issue. Mental, I mean the things that affects our emotions, the things that affects us, our reactions. And believe it or not, this particular chunk actually determines a lot of things. So we have lots of psychosomatic presentation, meaning it's coming from your side, it's coming from your attitude to life, it's coming from the things that's happening around you, and you're busy complaining. So I'm not sleeping well, I'm not eating well, I don't feel like doing anything, I'm crying, and I'm all sorts of things. When you look at it, you lump it into mental issues. But I want to just break it down very quickly that those ones include depression, which quite a lot are not diagnosed. Because for you to diagnose depression, you have to stay with the person, get the story. It's not just say I'm feeling low today. It's not as simple as that. You need to also know that people who are isolated, when you're isolated and you have the basic aches and pains that come with aging or doing nothing,
I've been lonely.
the commonest thing that causes weakness in the world, I would say, unfortunately, I haven't done a study in this technical, is doing nothing. Because when you don't use your muscles, you don't use your bones, you use nothing, including your brain. This is why we're encouraging people to join the RISNAP, which I'll talk about in a minute. All right, an organization which is an arm coming from the Ministry of Humanitarian Disaster and this thing. I'll talk a bit more about that. But for now, I'm saying some people exaggerate and say that idleness or idle mind is the devil's den or something like that. Similarly, if you have your body, you're not using it to do anything, including your brain. You say, which one can stand? I've had my life. You stop thinking. You stop using what God has given to you, because at the end, putting it in a mild way, if it's finished, He has to say it's finished. I mean, God. So as far as you're still breathing on this earth, it cannot be finished. The day it's finished, you go like his son. All right? Even him says so on the cross, it is finished. So it's not finished. That's the message I want to give. It's not finished for you because you're an elderly person at all. It's finished the day you die. For now, you're still there. So you do something. The next step about it. So isolation is a disease is all right in this country. I'm sorry to say. People ignore it here. The reason they do is because we have what we all pretend that's still existing, which is virtually there. Extended family.
Okay.
Extended family has traveled and
family support.
Itajapa, like all others. So the family support, and it's not just family now, because all families have their own. So isolation and loneliness are put together, and last but not least, talking about common issue, abuse. There's so many abuse of older person. The abuse may not necessarily be physical, it may be verbal.
Okay.
You old heart. Why won't you allow us to have your own life? What is your problem? Get up there.
So by the caregivers, the family, and so on.
By the caregiver, by even others. You can try to cross roads. He said, look at this old heart. What does he come out of the house for? He said, look at his legs. He can't even walk. Even that. You understand? And what about you are there, you've been privileged, you're a pensioner, and you have your pension to collect. And then you say you don't want to use the bank, or you want to use blah 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 blah. You call somebody who is supposed to be close to you.
To help you.
Abuse is when it happens to from somebody that you actually trust. The person betrayed that trust. Go and get me 20,000. Okay, mommy or granny. And they go, they get 20,000, all right. Or worst still, they take more than 20,000. But that's your so-called 20,000. They give you, if you're lucky, oh, here is your 10,000. What happened now? As I was coming, well, what is it? What do you need 20,000 for? What is it? Are you going? It's her money, his money. So what about that? What about the abuse, unfortunately, for those who are being cared for at home and those who have access to their physical body, try to do what they are not supposed to do in the pretense that they are offering them the expected help, cleaning them and all that, and from there they start also ridiculous thing they do to them. So you have the physical
And they even,
abuse,
some of
you have
them
the
have been
sexual.
known to beat them.
Oh yes, and then the physical abuse is a very common one. Are
Yeah.
you going to eat the food or not? I let you say I come here. You have not eaten it. Oh, okay, you don't want to eat, Abi, so that your children will say I'm serving you. Oh yeah, they force feed them or slap. Oh yeah, open that mouth now or something like that. Meanwhile, food is cold. So you treat them, and then the emotional abuse. Emotional abuse. What is it? Oh, you're crying, Abi. You're crying because of your sins now. If you're a good woman, you won't be having all this problem now. People like you are walking around because of your wickedness. So they give them verbal abuse, emotional abuse.
Okay.
All right? So it's
Well,
all sorts of abuse.
thank you for coming. We are particularly grateful. Viewers, that's what we call it a wrap for today. Please like, share, subscribe. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye for now.
Thank you.